So just a couple of days ago, Republicans, believe it or not, actually proposed a bill for stimulus checks for millions of Americans. If you've seen the headlines, guys, these stimulus checks could be at least 600, even higher, up to $2,400 for a family of four. But I've been getting a lot of questions as to who exactly would qualify. What are the income caps? And if you're on Social Security benefits or disability and you don't have any income besides that and don't pay taxes, would you qualify? That's the subject of today's video. Guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like these updates, please like and subscribe. I always keep you posted when it comes to stimulus updates, Social Security, the economy, and politics as well. But let's jump right into it, guys. You've seen the headlines. Tariff stimulus checks potentially coming. New proposal seeks tax rebates for U.S. workers. If you haven't seen the details, this is Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri, a Republican. A lot of people surprised that a Republican is actually putting forward this stimulus proposal. And again, this isn't approved yet, but I believe this is the first formal proposal for stimulus checks we've had since 2021. So this is a huge step forward. Really quickly, guys, I want to point out the fact that as of July 29th, the tariffs have brought in about $125 billion, which is over twice as much as it did last year. The majority of that, if you see on this chart, is from the last few months. So they're anticipating these could bring in anywhere from $300 billion to $500 billion in 2025. And if we look back at the previous stimulus checks, that actually makes it feasible for these stimulus checks to be paid for. Check this out. The light blue at the bottom is the first stimulus check, the orange is the second stimulus check, and then the dark blue at the top is the third. The third stimulus check actually cost about $400 billion. That's because they gave $1,400 per person, as well as $1,400 for each child. So families got a lot more than they did for the first two stimulus checks. The second one cost $140 billion, and the first one cost $270 billion. Now they're easily going to bring in an additional $150 billion, so they could easily do that $600 stimulus check, which is what they did for the second check, which costs about $150 billion, plus an additional $600 per child. So that's definitely feasible. They're basically already there. And really quickly, guys, please let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. I will respond to that at the end of this video if you're live, or I'll respond by texting back if you're watching this later on. But let's get to the point here. Who exactly qualifies for this? I was just pointing out the fact that based off of the amount coming in, this is actually feasible that the additional income from tariffs could be given as a rebate for stimulus checks. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions here. If you're on Social Security, if you're on disability, whether it's SSDI or SSI, will you qualify for this check the way it's proposed currently if you don't have any additional income and you don't pay taxes? So let's get into that. But really quickly, I want to share a quick message regarding our partner chapter.
This quick reminder that I've partnered with Chapter to connect my viewers with licensed Medicare agents who offer free, no obligation help. Chapter's licensed agents can help you understand Medicare and your plan options. Give them a call at 334-581-6390 to speak with someone and see what's available. Their services are provided at no cost to you.
All right, guys, so let's jump into it. Again, this stimulus check's been proposed. It's an actual bill that's been proposed in the Senate for at least $600 per person to be paid for by the tariffs. But the question is, if you're a senior and you're on either disability, SSI, SSDI, or just Social Security and you don't pay taxes, could you qualify based off of the current bill? Let's do a quick summary and then we'll actually take a look potentially at the bill if we have time in this video. So could you qualify if you don't pay or file taxes? But you may need to take action if the IRS doesn't already have your information. So let's take a look at the summary. How it breaks down. If you're on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, you will qualify for the $600 rebate even if you don't work or pay income tax. And that's because this rebate is a refundable tax credit, which means you do not need a tax liability to receive the money. You don't have to have paid taxes to then be getting it back. Even if you don't pay taxes, you would qualify for this $600 stimulus check. you may still get the full amount even with a zero taxable income. Now, how would the IRS send you this payment if you don't pay taxes and you don't file your taxes? Remember, in the previous stimulus checks, they used the information you had on file from filing your taxes to then send you those checks. Now, how would the IRS know how to send you this payment? Now, if you receive benefits, whether this is Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, the IRS and the administration, the Social Security Administration, already share these records. So they should have this on file and share this with the IRS if this is approved. Now, for example, during previous stimulus payments, most Social Security, SSDI, and SSI recipients receive their payments automatically based on the Social Security Administration's records, not needing their actual tax return. So even if you haven't filed tax returns in years, they would get this information from the administration. So most likely, given the fact that the current bill is framed upon the framework that the previous stimulus checks were, this would be done in the same way, so you wouldn't have to do a thing. Now, if you didn't file taxes and the IRS does not have your information, sometimes there are issues where the Social Security Administration has your information, for example, in the previous stimulus checks, but for some reason, people still did not receive their stimulus check, even though they should have gotten that information from Social Security. You might need to do one of two things. One, file a simple return, which is completely free, a little more complicated, but we'll talk about that in a future video if it comes to that. But two, they'll most likely release what's called a non-filer portal. And you might remember this. Let me know in the comments if you guys had to use this for the previous stimulus checks. This was a portal that the IRS released for people who do not file. Whether or not they're on Social Security or not, you could enter your information in this portal, and that would then allow the IRS to send you your stimulus check. Again, that's what they did in the past. It's not actually in this bill, so currently the bill does not spell this out that they would do this, but the bill does say that they're trying to work on the same framework as the previous stimulus checks. So most likely, if you don't receive your check, even if you're on benefits, they would release a portal that you could fill out to then get your stimulus check, hopefully relatively quickly. Now, the IRS non-filers portal to register would allow you to then get that check. Now, who might miss out on this check, on this stimulus check, if they don't do this? Now, you might not automatically get the payment if you don't file taxes, you are not on Social Security, VA, or railroad benefits, and you don't submit your information to the IRS. Again, I've had people with the previous stimulus checks years ago who were on Social Security, but still did not receive their check, and they still had to fill out this non-filers portal. So again, guys, if you're just joining today's video, just to quickly recap, these tariff stimulus checks have been proposed. This would use the tariff revenue to then send stimulus checks to people. This was proposed by Senator John Hawley from Missouri. The revenue has been substantial. It's already over double what it was last year. It's expected to be between $300 and $500 billion, which would be enough to send out at least a $600 stimulus check, potentially up to a $1,400 stimulus check, like they did in the past. Now, for those of you with potential income restrictions, I want to point out the fact that there are income restrictions as well. Let me pull this up here for you. A lot of people are actually asking if there are income restrictions as well. So let's get this up here. One sec here, just trying to pull this up for you. Let's take a look here. Okay, so individuals earning over $75,000 per year would start to have those payments phased down, slowly losing that stimulus check. I believe it's around $120,000 to $150,000 per year that you would no longer get any stimulus check at all. Now, if you're married filing joint, those making over $150,000 per year would begin to get their stimulus check slowly reduced. And I believe that's somewhere to around $180,000 per year for married couples that you would not get that stimulus check at all. So that's really who would qualify based off of the current framework in the bill. And yes, this bill was proposed. I actually have the bill here if you guys take a look. They're calling it the, let's see here. what are they calling it? The American Worker Rebate Act of 2025. And actually, in a future video, probably this weekend or next week, I'm going to go through the actual bill and point out the details, what's in it, when it could be released, all of the plans in there. It's a little bit complex, but we'll go into that this weekend or next week. So please subscribe if you want to be updated. What's happening with these tariffs? Just really quickly, because these tariffs are what could potentially pay for these stimulus checks. There is a lot going on. First of all, the deadline, remember Trump had those reciprocal tariffs that were massive. That deadline is actually tonight. So tomorrow, which is August 1st, as of making this video, Trump is expected to actually extend the reciprocal tariffs, the pause on those, but then increase the minimum tariff to 20%. See, right now, remember he came out with those insane reciprocal tariffs that were huge. He put those on pause, and he instituted a minimum 10% tariff across the board for anything coming into the U.S. Well, he's expected to now, with that deadline coming up August 1st, which is tomorrow as of making this video, to extend that, again, we're not sure how long, but also increase that minimum tariff to 20%. So what's that going to do? If he does do that, which he's expected to, that would encourage other countries to come to the table and negotiate, right? Because now the minimum is getting higher and higher, incentivizing them to say, hey, we don't want 20, maybe 15 looks good now that 20 is the minimum. It's complicated. These tariffs are controversial. Some people think they'll cause inflation. Some people are upset at the idea of stimulus checks, saying that it's just going to cause more inflation as well. And really, the U.S. government is paying for the tariffs if they're just, letting the consumer pay more and then sending the consumer money. It's complex, but sending people direct payments would be a massive thing since we haven't had that since 2021. At the same time, the federal appeals court, the U.S. courts actually said that a lot of these tariffs might not even be constitutional. So that's up in the air. But in the meantime, while they're kind of arguing that in court, they're letting Trump keep these tariffs in place. That was a big question. Initially, when they brought it to court, they actually said they could not keep the tariffs in place while they talked this out in court. That would have been bad, right? Because then Trump wouldn't have had any leverage over these countries. Then they said he can go ahead and keep those tariffs in place, so they are in place, obviously putting pressure on countries to negotiate in the meantime, which again, these tariffs would fund these stimulus checks. So quick look, guys, it's a little complex, but there are some deals that have been announced, and there have been some tariffs that have been paused and kicked down the road again. Let's take a quick look. The European Union, they announced an agreement, and again, there's a difference between announcing something and having it in place. These are just verbal agreements. Nothing is fully signed and agreed upon yet. But in any case, the EU, they have agreed verbally to a 15% tariff, which seems to be across the board, including cars. Japan has seemed to have agreed to a 15% tariff. The Philippines, 19%, Indonesia, 19%, South Korea, 15%, Vietnam, 20%, with an additional 40% for trans-shipped goods. That essentially means a lot of goods come to Vietnam from China and then to the U.S. The U.S. doesn't want China to just funnel their items through Vietnam. So there's an additional tariff on that, which would be 40%. Cambodia, Pakistan, Thailand, they don't know what the deal is, but there's supposedly a deal in place there. Handful of things here, but really these are the smaller countries. The bigger countries that the U.S. does deals with, trade deals with, is Canada, Mexico, and China, and to some extent Russia. And if you'll see here, the Mexico tariff, that was going to expire today, July 31st. Trump extended that an additional 90 days as well, so they have some more time to negotiate with Mexico. Again, they're expecting that base minimum tariff to go up to 20% though, so that will put pressure on everyone. They also have Canada, which they put a 25% tariff on non-energy products, a 10% tariff on energy products, and a 35% rate has been threatened to take effect on August 1st, which is tomorrow as of making this video. So will Trump extend that? We'll have to wait and see, but a 35% tariff would be massive. Then we have Russia, which they threatened a 100% tariff on if Russia does not come to a peace deal with the Ukraine 50 days from July 14th. So that's what, around the end of August, the beginning of September. So those are really the main ones. And then you have China, which they have 30% tariffs on, but they have extended 90 days from May 14th. So that's what, June, July, August. mid to late August to try and come to a deal before those tariffs are increased. That's essentially where things stand today, guys. Again, all of these tariffs would help pay or pay completely for the $600 stimulus checks minimum, could be higher. In the bill, it says if the revenue from tariffs ends up being higher than expected, they could potentially increase those. $600 per person, including kids, potentially higher. Guys, if you like these updates, please like and subscribe. I will keep you posted as things develop. These checks, again, as currently written, would apply and you would qualify even if you're on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and you have no other income and you don't pay taxes. We've covered all of that in this video. Thank you so much for watching. And again, please comment below at the end of the video and after the video. If you guys comment, I'm going to go ahead and respond. So let's take a quick look and see who commented on the video. Jerry Middleton said, I agree with you. How about seniors and those that are disabled? We need help. Absolutely, Jerry. They should be taking care of these people. Carol Thompson said $200 million for the White House ballroom, but we can't get help for seniors. Yeah, it was actually just released today that the White House announced a $200 million project for a ballroom in the White House. You know, why not give that to the American people as well? Bryant Brown said, at this rate, thanks, Bryant's been a long-time subscriber, long-time commenter. At this rate, something is better than nothing, regardless of the political party. 100%, Brian. And, you know, let's look back on it. Republicans actually did 2 stimulus checks. Democrats did 1. The Democrats was the larger one, but both parties gave stimulus checks, right? So, you know, although it's controversial, these tariffs, some people hate the tariffs, some people love them. People don't really know the full ramifications of what the tariffs will be on the economy and inflation. But I will say, you know, if you're going to bring in this revenue, you might as well give it to the people with stimulus checks. Nicholas Lempedikis said, are we getting another stimulus check? Nicholas, again, this is an actual proposal, right? So this is massive because I don't think we've had an actual proposal for a bill for a stimulus check brought to the Senate floor since 2021. So although there's a long way to go, Trump said he supports the idea, which is a big deal. And we've seen before that Democrats use the stimulus check to win that midterm election. Midterm elections coming up next year, Republicans might try and do the same. And we have a proposal, right? This is massive news. So guys, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like these updates. I will keep you posted on this specific stimulus check proposal, where things stand, what the details are, and you know where it stands in Congress, what's happening with the economy, with politics, and Social Security benefits as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well out there. And don't forget to check out our partner chapter. Phone number is on the screen here. They will help you understand Medicare, what your plan options are, and help you figure out what plan might be a good fit for you. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you on the next video.